On the opposite, and I have.
Oh, I don't know. I found it out.
Ragweed
This
and,
when I was cleaning my truck up. He said, I don't know anybody that's gonna.
Goldenrod.
There you go.
I did end up talking to Josh.
Yeah.
He's gonna put the paperwork in.
Yeah.
So. No, we do. We got five out of 8. And hopefully make that 9 here shortly. So we'll call this to order. Lots to talk about. The first issue is I think Brent, you gave us the minutes from last meeting. Yeah. I think I sent those out. I didn't get a chance to review those. Okay. Is any changes or get a motion to accept? Make motion. Second. Okay. So you use the minutes. Thank you.
Wait, who said?
I made a motion to accept Brent second. Okay. So visitors and communications, I did send an email out to the Spalding Athletic Director. I did not hear back from them. I will continue to ask him. I think that's a good person to get in here. Is there anyone else anyone would like to talk to or try to bring in and talk to us? Possibly the head of the hockey. We've had hockey and we've also invited figure skating too, just at the same time, right? Yeah, just to hear from them. Well, I really like to get it's been a couple athletic directors since we yes, they haven't wanted to come in. Yeah, I got radio silence for this meeting, but I'll keep after him to keep him up. I think obviously one of the biggest renters that we have.
I see Garrett. Almost every other video. I can get some of the guys.
That'd be great. I've never met him.
You got it.
Yeah. Is he local or?
No, he doesn't live here in Barre. He's been, lady, I'm trying to remember the other town, he just came from, it's been a couple of years now, I think he's, doing really good.
Yeah, excellent. That'd be great when you touch base with him, steer him towards us.
Are there any potential, new types of users of the turf that we should be considering?
I don't know. I mean, that would probably have to talk to, the rec department up there, Barre, see if they have any needs. I don't know what we're doing for rec department right now.
Kind of a shared role between Dawn and I.
Yeah.
We're trying to, right now, the big push is trying to find lifeguards. Because we've only got, I think, one signed up so far.
That's a good thought too, but I don't know who would have to.
Let's just keep it.
But I have some sessions to.
Yeah.
See who could use it. Is the circuit very busy
Yes.
and looking to be busy for a
Busy
while?
through the summer months?
It's not busy after this show right now. There's, I think, some lacrosse in there, a couple birthday parties, but after this show, there's really nothing booked because baseball's outside now. Most of the youth sports, soccer's outside, lacrosse is outside, so we were straight out when it was, before they could get on the fields.
Right.
Now it's slowed down a little bit, we still,
Yeah, that's why I think we should try to figure out other categories of users
Yeah.
to, off-season use it.
In Woodchuck?
Woodchuck's here every Sunday night.
Yeah, but for summertime, didn't they schedule for some?
I think they're still in there every Sunday night.
They have a men's league every Sunday.
Yeah,
So then there's gonna be the league play this summer.
oh, I don't know, they haven't scheduled those yet, they've just
Yeah.
been scheduling the Sunday nights right now.
You took it up, obviously. It went down and you've taken it up. How long did it take to come up and how long do you envision it to go back down? How much of a process?
So it comes up a lot easier than it goes down.
Sure.
So Sunday night, none of the small pieces around the rink were marked. So Sunday night, I was here until, well, Woodchuck lacrosse got done at 8. I went around and pulled up and marked all the small pieces. Our guys started taking that stuff out first thing Monday morning. That was probably an hour. And then I had 4 DPW guys from Montpelier come up. And I think by 10 o'clock in the morning, they had it all out. Putting it back down, I'm guessing most of Thursday and most of Friday for our staff. Montpelier guys are gonna help us get it all laid out on the floor, but putting it down, you gotta get them exact, otherwise pieces don't line up and it becomes a problem, so. I'm guessing most of Thursday and probably a better part of Friday. And then we have a birthday party in there Friday night, so.
As far as what we're gonna put on that, are we ever gonna put anything on there that is got tires or wheels or anything like that? Are we gonna drive anything on that turf?
The plan is no, at least my plan is no.
Hopefully not.
You could probably put a 4-wheeler on there or a small sidewalk plow, but, I'm already working with the highway show for next year because
Yeah.
the prime space is in there and they're not gonna be able to have heavy equipment in there because we're not gonna pull it out next year.
Okay.
At least that's the stance right now. Whether that changes through talks, I don't know. The plan is not to pull it up and down because it's just Velcro and it's just gonna ruin it if we keep taking it up and taking it down, so.
Thanks.
So why is Montpelier helping out?
Because Zach Blodgett, who's one of the head people for the highway show, is the public works director in Montpelier. And they should have been notified in October that we were putting turf down, but they weren't. So when I called them, they were like, we've already got it all laid out, we've got the vendors already booked in there, we've already got payment. So we're like, all right, we'll take it out this year. And he's like, that's great, we'll figure it out for next year. But, so it was a last minute thing, and he said, I'll send some guys to help, so.
No, it's good. I was trying to figure out why they were.
Yeah. having extra hands.
Yeah.
Okay, excellent. So there's a couple things we gotta talk about, but we're gonna just kind of follow this right now. We'll squeeze in some important things soon. The Civic Center Facility Improvement Projects. We talked about it last meeting. You know, you're kind of directing them a little bit more, trying to get them to do some more activities. I did send out a very simple, list that we had, to you. And I'd like to kind of brainstorm and see if anyone has, additional projects or things they'd like to rise to the top. This one goes back quite a ways, before we painted the walls in this room. So we had paint the walls in here, which we did, soundboard on the walls, which I think we aren't probably gonna do that. The bathrooms we had, mirror waste baskets and paint all the bathrooms. Replace the carpet in the elevator, which, was that done?
Yes,
That was done
yeah,
when Jeff was here.
2 years ago.
Yeah. Paint all stairways in the auditorium, prior to the locker room stairs, going downstairs, I haven't walked down to those locker rooms. I don't know if that's been done.
So, yeah, we'll talk about that.
Replace broken tiles as you enter alumni from the odd. There's just some tiles on the floor. Replace the floor mats in all 3 buildings. Exterior paint on alumni. I think that was, we're geared more towards up top. There's a lot of just chipping paint.
Yeah.
South side railing, which is just a bigger project, all the steel railing. And then I think one that's top of the list for all of us is repair and paint the auditorium ceiling as you come in. I think you were talking about getting that one, tackle that one first, potentially.
Wait, but I don't know still if anyone has bothered to look to see what the material is behind the peeling paint.
We're getting it tested to make sure it's not lead.
No, I'm not concerned about lead, although I am concerned about it. For the public, I am concerned about it. But what I am most concerned about really is the historic context of this building, and that I want to know if that is brass or some decorative metal behind the paint, because if it is, we should be sandblasting it and bringing it back to its original context.
Kind of like when you buy a house and pull up the carpets, you're hoping for wood floors in it.
Yeah, I'm
Nice
so
temperature
hoping
glass.
that it matches, and it should, because of the maker of this place. It should match the band, decorative band of brass at the entrance. That is what, if I were putting $20 on the table, that's what's there. So before we get going with splashing more paint on that, I'd really like us to know what's behind it.
Yeah, we've gotta take it all off anyway. I don't wanna paint over broken paint.
Yes,
So we're gonna take it off anyway, we'll see what's under it.
good.
As well as out front here on the stoop that
Right.
they're putting the roof on, so.
It's a great old period building and we want to respect.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If I may, excuse me here, but the mats that they're on that punch list about throughout the whole building, they're about halfway done. They were, the ones that were horrible are now in a landfill far, far away, I hope it. And I believe a month or 2 ago, before Rick, you came in, Nicholas sat right about where Arthur is right now and said that they only got 1 bid to paint the roof of the canopy going into, not the roof, but the ceiling going in. And I believe he said that 1 bid was approved and it was supposed to get started. I don't know.
Remember that.
I remember that, Brent? You don't remember that?
I don't remember him saying it.
Or you're just mad because you didn't get
No,
the.
I probably got my own stuff.
So you're talking the roof as we come into the auditorium, not the overhang?
No, I'm talking, I think we're talking the same, right above those granite steps.
The overhang.
The exterior.
The overhang. I mean, if you look.
Yeah, I haven't seen a bid on it, but I will reach out to Nicholas and ask, because I'm on the daily trying to find out what we bid. And I was meeting with the contractor yesterday on a project at City Hall, because there's a lot of stuff in there. I'm like, wait a minute, hold up, what's going on with this? Does it make sense? And then I found out that they changed the spec and changed the bids, and this was an old one, so. I'm learning daily on where things are and who's responsible, and, yeah.
And you keep coming back, that's the main thing.
Somebody told me one bite of the elephant at a time.
That's right, that's
Um,
exactly right. I tell them that every day, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
So I think we're all in agreement that when you walk in, it's the first thing you see.
Yeah.
It's just like, whoa.
So we just got the first coat on the yellow on the stairs.
Okay.
There'll be a second coat going on, but with the show, we couldn't get it in time. And then the roofer is set to come in, I believe, sometime around the beginning of June. We had to push him back a little bit because we had Washington Electric in here last week, we got this week, so we had to push him back a little bit. Once he does that, then we'll look at the RFP or bid if there was one, and if not, we'll figure out what's under there and we'll get it painted one way or another. Whether we have to do it or we hire somebody or
Or
whatever.
remove,
What's that?
I'm sorry.
They do their strip.
We will get it painted
Or stripped, or we're gonna strip it first,
yes,
but then if there's a bid that includes stripping, we'll have them strip it first and
Yes.
see what's under it, and then we'll go from there, but this was the first I heard there was a bid on it.
okay.
I had it on the list to just make sure it got done.
Okay. In terms of lists and projects, it looks like you have a
So,
list up here.
yeah, so this is, so I started, the only one I've done a full survey on so far is the BOR. And so what I'm doing is I'm just documenting everything that I find as I go through. And, some of this stuff we're already working on. Some of it is capital expenses, some of it was built into the Sanders earmark. So I'm trying to just figure out where all the pieces are and kind of keep track of what we need to get done. I have a meeting with Dawn and Nicholas, I think next week, and we're putting all the big capital items on the table because they want to figure out how to proceed, whether we do a bond or something to get, the roof over there is horrible.
Yep.
We're fixing the locker room, we're fixing the sheetrock on the ceilings, but the sheetrock, literally, you can push it and it moves because it's been so wet so much from moisture. The fire alarm system's got all kinds of issues that we're working on. But as of right now, we've got people working on the locker rooms and we just finished painting the concession stand, the inside of the concession stand. We're doing some last minute sheetrock on some pieces that were smashed out. So we'll have that done probably next week. That'll be all wrapped up and then they're already fixing sheetrock and painting and stuff in the locker rooms done and paint colors because the showers are gross. So we're slowly getting those turned around. But if anybody wants, I can send you this and you guys can look through it on your own. But basically what I've done is I've just, every time something comes up, I put it on the list so that it doesn't get lost because if we don't keep track of it, things will fall off the radar. And like I said, the BOR is the only one so far that's had a full list done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would like a copy, and then, just one other, two other things. Getting back to the list that was just described, in all instances, we've got poor lighting throughout the complex up there on the hill. Poor in terms of light quality and also energy efficiency.
Yes.
So I can't see what you've written here from a distance, but I would say that a very high priority is to improve the lighting throughout this complex.
It is both over there, over here, changing everything out to high bay LEDs.
And then the other thing is that I'd like to schedule a meeting with you, and I can go over the Norwich University project with you and give you their punch list for the auditorium.
That'd be great.
Okay.
Yeah, remember, so we did the Sentinel committee, Bernie, we got money for the BOR, and they did the work efficiency for one, and we did a little later.
That's right.
So I mean, that was what, 2010, 2011. So I'm not sure what they had done it, so they did it, so. You didn't turn on. Yeah, you didn't do all the lights either, you turn on some, so, but that project was efficiency for one.
Yeah, so what we're running into citywide right now is everything is the old fluorescent bulbs and you can't get them anywhere.
Right.
And so we're replacing them with LED bulbs that work both with ballast and without. So if the ballast fails, they'll continue to work, we can just rewire it. You just take the ballast out, put positive to one side, negative to the other, and it works. So that's being changed out in pretty much every lighting fixture we have, because we can't get rid of bulbs. The ones in the BOR, those big globe ones, they've already changed out 2 of them, or in the odd, I'm sorry, in the odd, they've already changed out 2 of those to the high bay LEDs. They seem like they provide the same amount of light, they're pretty nice. What I'm trying to figure out is with the Sanders earmark. So I don't know if you guys watched the thing, I know that you got the email, but that was supposed to be 3.5 for the Sanders earmark and then 3.5 from the city. And the city went back and said, we can't come up with 3.5 million as a match. So they said, okay, well, if the city comes up with like 500,000 and we do a $4 million project, we'll still get the 3.5 million. So we're moving forward, trying to spec out the project and what we can scale back on and pay for separately. And what are our big ticket items, like the HVAC and air conditioning and the odd and things like that.
Okay, a couple things we gotta touch on that, but
Yeah.
Art, you have something for me?
I'd like you to email it to me, I don't know about anybody else.
Yeah.
Just email it to the group, okay. And I'm updating it daily, so you know, as I talk to vendors, making changes and.
And you said earmark funds over to BOR?
Well, it's earmarked for this auditorium, I guess.
Oh, yeah, sorry, okay, that's what I.
I'm still trying to get all the details on it because I wasn't involved and I can't find it in just files anywhere, so.
Well, you want the original application?
I've got the application, but I wanna know how Cody from BABC came up with the numbers. I wanna know if he had written quotes from people and who quotes were from, and
You had a couple quotes.
that's what I'm trying to find
It
out.
appeared to me as the process was happening that it happened quite quickly.
Yeah, and that's why I wanna know, like, where did these numbers come from, and,
Yeah, well, put some numbers up.
yeah, and that's what I want to see, I can't find that
I
stuff.
think
Nicholas has it, I believe, I just gotta find it.
And I think it's important that you don't need to kill for the Norwich thing, because the Norwich ones, we can hit a whole, you know.
Yeah, that'd be great, because,
Well, I mean, again, I don't know what includes the earmark or whatever they put in for or whatever, but, you know, it was changing walls, additions to locker rooms, I mean, all sorts of things.
Yeah.
That, and bathrooms and you name it, so. Whether that's included in whatever they apply for the earmark, I don't know. You do, or.
I think generally speaking, the goal for the large auditorium is to make it, let's say, a more multi-use facility. So even though we use the term locker room, for example, there are other uses for that building. And so, the whole idea of changing walls and updating and things like that was to make it more versatile because it's a community center for the whole region.
right,
And that was the idea that was shared with the Sanders office, that this is a major resource for the whole region. So these proposed changes will help every aspect of the work.
Yeah.
And I've got paperwork that I can
yeah, I
share.
definitely wanna talk about that, because I wanna make sure that I'm going in the right direction.
I get concerned when you talk about cutting out or cutting down or the HVAC, because if that had air conditioning.
No, that is one of the primary ones they're keeping. Electrical and HVAC are the 2 main ones that they've kept on the list. There's other stuff that they're trying to decide what stays on, such as, there was some discussion last night about the ADA upgrades to the bathrooms. Those may be able to be done without using that money if we had to. So that's why I'm trying to figure out where the quotes are and what we've got, because if the quotes are 5 years old, then it's gonna change.
Are they still talking about, one of the big things we talked about is because there's one huge locker room, one small locker room, trying to create 4 locker rooms down there and referee space.
I'm not sure what's on the docket for it, I gotta find out more.
So in our, one of the, you said that maybe disposed, I always thought Sanders 3.5 million. The city match was not 3.5 million, the city match was like 1.5 or something, or 2.1, something like
It
that.
was almost 2 million, I think.
Yeah,
It was like a 60-40, so we were not, it was
I
not.
was told it was a match, so
No.
when I hear match, it's.
no, that's, We were never told, we always, yeah, we were told, I
It was
think
like
it was
60-40.
Yeah, so we
It was
were
not
not,
50-50, you know, so it was a little over 2 million something.
yes, we thought the project was total, we don't 5 million, or,
Yeah, a little over 5 million match.
We're gonna end up, Nicholas is trying to shoot for around the 4 million mark. So the city would come up with 500,000, I think he said. I'm coming in behind the 8 ball on this, because I wasn't involved in it from the beginning, so I'm catching up, but.
If we could get a clarification on this, you know, they're still gonna give us their funds. We don't have to potentially come up with the full match from the city. We can come up with a smaller portion, and they have to approve it that they can use their full amount in our smaller match.
Yeah.
And move forward with that. And that would be the end of it, or is there then, in the future, trying to get the rest of the money to be brought in?
I don't know the answer. Nicholas is the one that's been dealing with it, I'm not sure.
Okay, so for right now, we're trying to propose to them that we can have a smaller match, $500,000 or something like that. And then get their full amount and have that money for the,
Yes.
So I'm looking at the thing you sent for last night's meeting or whatever, and it says in here, reduce the scope of the electrical, HVAC scopes of work. And beginning the scope to be completed as new grants of funding, source. I'm reading that from one of my glasses, so I'm pretty, I mean, it says there, they're talking about reducing the scope of the electrical and HVAC work.
potentially, yes.
So I mean, I'm just,
So it's, I know the priority is the electrical and
If I could read that again, reduce the scope to the electrical and HVA scopes of work. So I think what they're doing is
They're gonna-
we had the ADA, we had the locker rooms, we had the HVC, we had the electrical. And I think they're saying we are focusing on
Strictly,
strictly electrical and HVAC and see how far we go with that.
I got my glasses, I guess it's
do
too.
you want to borrow my magnifiers?
Yes.
No, that's okay.
So, I think they're looking to say, the electrical has to get done.
Yeah.
So, full boring electrical, do everything
The
that
HVAC has
the
to be done.
HVAC needs to get done, do everything that needs to be done on there, and then see how much that takes of the funds, and then whatever is left, we can prioritize smaller projects.
There was gonna be a clerk of the works or whatever, this is what, Nicholas said at one time. And, I mean, you have drawings or whatever from the Norwich project or whatever, but whether you can use them, want to use them, or whatever. They're not certified engineers, so.
No, but that's okay.
Their professors certainly were quite certified. And it went through the top chain, I just want to always keep our eye on the ball, so to speak. There was an article in the Times Argus 2 days ago that described how Montpelier was considering throwing around $50 million at a regional recreational facility for a meager, under $10 million investment. We can make this material up here on the hill really shine.
Yeah.
And we really have to, I don't want to get stuck on tiny bits of money when we have something, and what we need to do is put it in good condition, and we can continue to do the good work that we're doing.
And that's why Nicholas and Don are meeting with me next week, because they want to listen to all of these big ticket items to figure out how we're gonna take care of it. Because there's stuff that could be catastrophic if we have failures for this complex.
Yes.
So I put together my list for them. I'm still trying to get quotes as far as like what it's gonna cost to put a brand new polyfusion header in the BOR. I have no idea. Yes, $500,000 or more, but, so at the end, there's a manifold that fills all the coolant lines.
Yeah.
So we're, instead of doing another steel one, which is just gonna rust, we're looking at doing a polyfusion one, which basically is steel with plastic on the inside and the outside. But they make it at their facility in 20-foot lengths, they bring it here, and then they put it all together, and then take the old one out, put this one in, and it's a major upgrade, but it's a need, it should have been done 3 years ago. And when I talked to the coolant vendor, he's like, this has been on the radar for a long time, and there was nothing put in the budget for it. So that's why we're meeting, is to try to basically make sure that we're setting aside money or figuring out how we're gonna get money to get all these projects done.
I think that's where we gotta separate from, some things have to get done. Electrical is horrible in this place, and the heat,
Yep.
we lost one of the furnaces, so we only have one,
Yep.
so that has to
Is it
happen.
getting done this year, for instance? Is that?
I think
was
so.
in the.
That would be part of the HVAC that
Yeah.
they're looking to do.
Yeah.
And so we have to prioritize the emergencies. Our concern would be the fringe things that, you know, the locker rooms, you know, for the state tournament and having those addressed would be huge for this facility.
Yeah.
Not catastrophic if it doesn't get done, but we don't want to drop that off is what our goal is, so. John?
One other question, someone said clerk of the works, are the city going to hire someone, you know, to run the project, you know, do they know who's gonna?
I don't know, because when I started it at the 1st of April, when I basically got this, they basically told me everything's on hold right now, because we don't know how we're gonna come up with this match that we need to come up with, so the Sanders thing is all on hold, and then Nicholas has been working with them, and this just happened this week, I think.
Yes.
That he made progress, and they said, look, we'll figure out a way to make it work.
You know, if there's people out there, like, things talked about doing the USDA, I think rural development, get the,
Yeah.
and, nice example, my wife's school projects, she's been using Iron Out, Joel Swartz, who used to be head of EDC, who does clerk of the works for both her original remodel and now the expansion. And, you know, there's people out like him or others
Yes.
who are used to the funding mechanisms of the feds and also running these projects.
Yeah.
Could be brought in potentially, to actually.
Yeah, I don't
Because
know.
manager, you guys don't have the time.
Right. I just don't know what
You don't
Nicholas'
have time.
plans are on that.
Somebody, there's gotta be one person to do this, right?
Yeah.
That's what Nicholas said way
Yes.
back.
I agree with that, I think they gotta figure out the funding first.
Yeah.
And, you know, right now, we'd obviously like to get all of it.
Well, yeah.
We're gonna apply to see if and that, so it's happening, we have to apply to them to see if they will allow us to just match a smaller portion.
Yeah.
And that's not been approved yet, I don't know if it's been applied for yet, but they have to get that, so we're looking from anywhere to, you know, hopefully still maybe get all of it somehow, to get a portion to maybe not, maybe they come back and say, no, you have to get it all or nothing. So
I think-
we don't have, we have figured out.
After last night's meeting, basically what I gathered from Nicholas was, we've got to go back, we've got to figure out what the HVAC is gonna cost, what the electrical is gonna cost, and then what else can we do
Right.
to try to get us to around the 400,000 mark, and then we come up with the 500,000. He said we got a pretty good shot at getting the 3.5.
Does the 500,000 they're talking about getting included, was it 100,000? We said we would donate.
We said that we would do this.
They talked about that last night, something about that last
Yeah,
night.
we pledged $100,000.
Yeah, I mean, if they borrow 500, then we take our 100 and say, put it towards the locker room portion or something. Just a thought.
Yep, and it's good thought. Jim?
This conversation warms my heart because I've been sitting here for 7 years and it was always a if and a what and a but. And all these things about air conditioning and HVAC all need to be done. I'm only asking that we do not forget, we are able to see the forest through the trees. I mean, there's not a decent entryway going into the auditorium, not one. It's broken, it's rusted, it needs painting even down coming into this building, the little back entrance. I mean, it's just mind-boggling that it's deteriorated so much over. And I'm not pointing any fingers at anybody, but Rick's done a great job in the 6 months that he's been here.
That's why this list, I mean, if I go to Alumni Hall on my list, you'll see that conference room, these were some that were on the list right off, but then all the floors, I've never seen them strip and wax a floor anywhere up here. And the floors look like crap, and we've got broken tiles, those are all in there. But roof over the office door, that's the one you're talking about up here, it's on the list to get painted.
Right.
And I know that I'm gonna have time, that staff's not gonna be out mowing because it's gonna be raining, and there's no reason that they can't paint that. It's just white paint, they can strip it, clean it, and paint it. But I'm changing a mindset that's been instilled for years, that we're just gonna outsource everything, and it's like, no, we're not.
Yeah, we're gonna do the work. I think it's also, secretary, just made one point, we kind of had them in different categories here. We had, potential Sanders grant, which would be the bigger projects. We had things that was just hopefully for the staff to do, like painting, and then we got the civic center fund, which would be for improvements. We've always kind of looked at it like there's three different sort of sets. The Sanders one would obviously be just the big heavy ticket items. What I'm happy about, I think what Jimmy's getting at is getting just the staff to make the simple improvements, which make a huge difference. I mean, seeing a fresh coat of paint just is a massive thing. It's a simple thing, but it hasn't been getting done. And I think that would address a lot of what Jim was talking about, just the visual, and that looks nice kind of stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to touch on one little detail about the entrance, and this is something that we've discussed in the past. There are two granite curbs out in front of the entrance to the auditorium, and they were placed there, I think, to redirect people to another crosswalk area. But the only problem is people don't like to be redirected. So even this morning, I've seen people trip on those granite curbs for years. Even this morning, as I was just taking a quick loop around to come to this meeting, I saw a couple older gentlemen trip on the curbs because no one expects them to stand up, 8 inches above the ground. Two of them, there should just be a cut-through passage. It would be so simple to just bring a saw up and, lift it out so that there can be just, even though you don't want people maybe to pass through, they are, and it's a safety issue. So
Maybe after I'll have you show me where you're talking about,
Yeah.
so I make sure, because that's not a big issue.
it's a nothing.
We have the saws, we have equipment to do it, we can do whatever, it's just, I just need to know, I've got, if you look at the auditorium, all the bollards that are around need to be painted, all the lines are gonna be restriped, but there's also big issues that we're gonna deal with, like underground fuel tanks that still have lots of
This is
fuel.
tiny but huge.
Yeah, but those are easy things that we take care of.
Yeah, and then that's what you kind of gotta do, you gotta get an eye on the big project, but you also gotta keep a steady flow of
Exactly.
projects. And that's where I think you failed a little bit over the years.
And that's what I'm trying to do, is I'm trying to make sure that all the staff knows of these lists. We meet once a week. And I want them to know the list, and then I'm trying to change the mindset of, if I say, go to Lincoln Field and put up this sign, it doesn't mean go to Lincoln Field and put up this sign and turn around and drive away, and then come back and tell me there's trash at Lincoln Field. It means go to Lincoln Field, check the trash, look around the field, make sure there's no broken sticks or fences aren't laying down. And then if there's something you can't fix right off, then tell me about it. But start thinking beyond the one task that you're sent to do. And I need to get them to start doing that. And it's happening, not as fast as I want, but it's happening.
You gotta change the tide slowly.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else on projects that people would like to see done? That list is excellent.
I'll send it all
I'd
to
love
you.
to see it.
And keep in mind, there's cemetery in there, because I'm in charge of all the cemeteries too, so you'll just have to look at the tabs at the bottom to see which ones, like the auditorium, the BOR.
Yep, and then that's a great master list, you can use it as such, so if anyone's got any comments or things that they wanna add, just email.
And if you look at it and you see something and you're like, what the heck is that?
Yep.
Just call me and ask.
Yep. Moving forward a little bit, you went to the city council meeting.
Yeah.
I didn't make it. Is there any other input you had on that would pertain to the funding or us that, was discussed?
There was just some pushback on, because of course Nicholas's first thing was, we're gonna do the electrical and the HVAC. And then we're probably not gonna do the ADA bathrooms or whatever. And so there's some pushback on that. And some of the council were saying, hey, we really need to figure out how to make those ADA bathrooms happen. And he said, I agree, but it may be not in the Sanders grant, maybe through us funding it or something. Right. And, so yeah, that was most of it, was just, they were on board, they wanted him to go back and try to come up with some more finite information on numbers and things to come back to him with.
So they didn't have a real vote on it.
Next week, I think.
Was discussed.
Okay.
So you gotta get fun, you gotta get a little more detail.
That's why I was trying to find those quotes. I figured I'd get ahead of the curve by doing.
Well, we saw them at one point. I don't know if Jeff sent them out to us, but I remember seeing it at all.
But it wasn't broke down, I think it was overall said it's $5 million, and I don't think it was like broke down each little piece.
No, but and maybe it was on the original proposal, I don't know.
I talk to Jeff probably every other day, so,
Yeah.
because I call him and go,
What
okay,
is this?
what do you do with this? Because I've never dealt with a burial card for his cremation
He still
before.
answering his phone?
He does, yep. And then he asked me, he goes, why are you calling me on a Saturday? I'm like, Jeff, it's Tuesday. He goes, not for me, it's not. He goes, the only day it's not a Saturday is Sunday.
Excellent. Okay, anything else on this? So I think that's all great. So the earmarked funds will just kind of put on
I'll
hold.
give you guys that means as I know that.
Appreciate it. So I have it on the list, I don't know how much discussion anyone wants to have on it, but the Civic Center financial review. We touched base on it last week, or last month. Sent out what John had sent us. There was a brief discussion, I don't know how far everyone wants to dig down into that. For some input, if that's something we should further pursue or have discussions on. Obviously, we're not gonna make money up at this facility. It's a little concerning, maybe how much we spend on it. But I don't know, I'm looking for inputs on if anyone, had a better review on that, or if how much discussion we should have on this and how far down people want to talk about it.
I definitely, I really like mid-year reviews and I like boring down for an entire meeting. Not having it pop up as one of like 6 items. So I would be very much in favor of dedicating a summer's meeting to looking closely at those numbers, making the best sense of it we can, and talking about ways to kind of shoot for an improvement for next year.
Okay, good. I think we can do that. Any other input, any other thoughts on that?
I mean, my big concern looking at it, and I brought it up at the last meeting or whatever, that revenues don't seem to be what I thought that we were being told they were being. I know the hockey thing or whatever, it all changed around the area and so on and so forth. It wasn't gonna be any problem, we're gonna be running the same amount of ice and so on and so forth, and it doesn't look to me like we did. So I think, what she's talking about, I think we need to figure out what's gonna happen next year, as far as ice rentals and things like that, and then whether the auditorium or the, whatever, rentals or whatever, I'm still, I don't know, Jim here, be involved in it. As much as possible, phone rings and somebody's got to contact somebody. You got a phone, I'm sure you can do it. Running it besides, something besides athletics. I mean, show or whatever, monthly or police department or whatever you brought up at the last meeting or whatever. Contact, things like that.
I still think a little bit, we all got rocked by the COVID and pandemic and the shutdown.
Yeah.
I still think that it's coming back, but we're still feeling those effects and the financials are still showing that period. But I think we're getting closer to full boat. So we'll.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I just wanted to say, if you were to look nationally and regionally, facilities that have performance halls or public gathering places across the board have suffered. Everyone is still in rebuilding. And we have the double whammy of rebuilding post-COVID and also coping with some of the post-flood realities. So I'm not, I just think we need to keep our thoughts with that we're not any dissimilar from what is going on elsewhere. So we just have to knuckle down and look really hard.
Just quickly, as Larry said about getting a handle on like rentals, especially ice, and more reason to get Black Bear and there's the here sooner than later, so give me an idea, like, what's your plan on when the next is coming, how do you see this going? I don't know if we're going to sit down.
So I think it's difficult to over the expenses. I mean, you got X number of employees, you keep the lights on and so on and so forth, so if we can't raise the income, you know, we're gonna continue to have problems. I mean, the expenses don't change that much, and you're doing everything you can to change the culture and so on and so forth, which is certainly help. But, I mean, to me, you gotta raise the revenue somehow.
Yeah,
In talking to Rick this morning, and I talked to some of the staff the other day, and I'm already looking forward to seeing what I can do with basketball with my Sundays that I have done for a lot of years when we moved to a club like that. And sometime, not today, because it'll take a little bit of time, but he's got a brand new deal going on online where people can find the time to rent the auditorium and rent a different space and like that, and it really is increasing, I think, the awareness of this building and what you can have it for. I mean, I know that there's been birthday parties and a lot of different things that have already been asked for, and people are scheduling dates like that. And we're going to find the auditorium and the VOR and the turf, once we get rolling, are gonna be used, and just because there's a public awareness of now of what you've been able to put together, so.
it's definitely getting out there, and we've seen a lot of people using that online form now. And we direct people to it, so a lot of people come up here that, you know, they wanna look at the auditorium, so I'll walk them through, we'll show them everything. And then they're like, okay, what do I need to reserve it? So just go on here, fill out the form, and they put you on the calendar and they'll send you an invoice. And they're like, that's awesome, so they just go in and fill it out. Some of them have filled it out on their phone before they left. And then it goes to me, it goes to Chris, which is our IT person, but he's the one that's basically entering it into the calendar so that it quickly shows up that that spot's booked. It's working out pretty good. Not sure if he'll stay in that loop yet. We're trying to figure that whole piece out, but it's working really good right now because I can get it and I can look at it and go, whoa, wait a minute. I can't do that. I can't get this out and have that in at the same time. I need a half an hour in between them, Chris. So then he'll call him back, or I'll call him back and say, can you do it at 5:30 instead of 5? And that was the problem we ran into over here is we had booked, Stephanie had booked, Jeff had booked a bunch of rentals over here, but they would book soccer ending at 5 and baseball starting at 5. Well, it takes 2 people a half an hour to set up the batting cages. So I'm like, we can't do back to back like that. And then it takes 2 people to tear them down if you have to cross after it. So we've had some bumps, but we've worked through them, and, you know, I've come in and helped out tearing down baseball cages because other people weren't available, but it's gonna be, we're looking at the whole picture for next year. How do we do it in a more organized fashion to better utilize the time that we have and the staff that we have, so.
Great.
No, that sounds great. Just don't forget us old people that don't have football and stuff.
Nope, they could,
And have a hard copy.
Bernie, I just said to Bernie, I said, if you want, I can put it in the system for you. He said, yeah, that'd be great, so I'm just gonna go plug it online for him. When I do that, when I'm on the phone with people, if they don't wanna do it on the computer, I'll just do it for them.
So we had that thing, remember I don't know, challenge, but we had that system where, you know, Stephanie was running it, I don't know, she dealt with, had problems with trying to get people scheduling, so people would go on there and look, say, all right, we got this ice, or we got this at the BYU auditorium. And I don't know, it just didn't work out.
Great. I think it's great.
Yeah, no,
This one is working really well because it comes to
Somebody's
forums.
running it and making sure things are.
And Chris will look at it and say, hey, can we do this, or hey, this person's interested, but they wanna see it first, and I'm like, okay, I'll call them and have them talk my shoulder around or whatever.
Hey, Rick, do you have any notion of the timing for some potential hire of either a part-time or full-time grant administrator for the municipal government?
I know that they talked about it at one point in time, but I don't know. Then they talked about BABC doing it for us, and then I don't know whatever happened after that.
Because this complex is a really good example of something that would be very interesting with some of the various grant opportunities that are out there. And we should have, if there is a person who's working part-time even on these activities, we should have, you know, an opportunity to put in some ideas. Just as an example, if I alluded to the fact that around the country, a lot of cultural resources are not doing well because of COVID. And so Senator Welch is putting in, this is the third time he's put in for a request called Save Our Stages. Third time, and the whole idea is that the stages around Vermont don't have the capacity to even have routine staff looking out for the interest of these organizations. So I think that this would be an equivalent kind of activity, that we need to have maybe some of our routine staff resources supported by outside funding for a while as we rebuild.
We're actually looking at a bunch of different opportunities right now. We're trying to work with emergency management, because this is, I mean, we were the regional hub for everybody in this area when there was flooding. And so we're trying to work with them, we're trying to work with ACCD, trying to figure out, like, hey, if we're gonna be the hub here, help us out. You know, help us with some of these expenses that we've got to take on our shoulders, so.
I think we tried that with the state and everything like that, you know, we're like, help us out with this grant, if you guys want this facility to be here. You know, yeah, they denied it.
And there's a little more pressure on them right now, though, because of what happened with the flooding and this being a hub for everybody. You know, Berlin, Berrytown, and Montpelier, they didn't have any place for people to go, so they all came here, and so Vermont Emergency Management is looking at it going, all right,
It showed its value.
yeah, definitely showed its value. And I think with AC, it would show its value even more. So I'm excited about that coming on board. There's some, I don't know what you guys know, but you can look through that stuff. I mean, we've got asbestos tiles up there that have been up there for a long time that I've got to look at how much that's gonna cost. You know, I did asbestos management and removal, and it was not a cheap thing, but it's something that we have to look at. And so trying to put together all the big projects so that I can keep track of them and start moving forward with grants and funding options and things like that. But also tackling the little day-to-day things like the curb out here, figuring out why that's there and fixing it. The front stairs, I asked, why is one of the blocks pushed in about an inch further? Well, we hit it a little too hard with the bobcat and removing it. I'm like, okay, and you didn't fix it? Why? So it's changing a mindset.
Well, I think there's a lot of opportunity. I think your attitude is great. It's already showing some results. You're sharing duties right now, splitting duties without Jeff here. Is this something that you were going to continue on, or become more of a focus, or do you know the plan for that?
Nicholas and Don want me to take over facilities and cemeteries full time. I told him I was a little hesitant at this point because I don't know everything about it yet. I'm learning things every day. I mean, I had Benoit in here because our alarm panel was going off in the BOR. And I had him in because I'm like, why is this happening? And he's like, well, you've got sensors, which are lasers. They shoot from one end of the BOR to the other. If somebody throws a lacrosse ball up in the air and it breaks that sensor and trips the alarm, he's like, they shouldn't be those sensors. They should be smoke or heat sensors instead. Right. And then the fire alarm inspector was here and he was looking at the system and he's like, your system is triggering when you get low air pressure, it triggers the alarm, which it's not supposed to. It's supposed to trigger a warning. Right. When you got low water pressure, it was triggering a warning instead of triggering the alarm. So something happened where those two switches got reversed. So I'm learning and finding things every day. The compressor for that, the sprinkler system. Yep. When I got here, one of the guys said, hey, you know that sprinkler, that compressor needs to be replaced. And I was like, okay, why hasn't it been replaced? And like, we've been telling them for 5 years that it needs to be replaced. It took 4 hours for it to build pressure up, which is not gonna pass any state inspection. So I've got a quote on my desk for replacing that. And then when that's replaced, they're gonna fix the ammonia alarms. So I've got been working on a quote for that. Because the ones that were put in there every year and a half, you gotta replace them in there, I think, $2,000 a piece.
So I'll speak for myself, you know, it's a critical position to have in here. I'm very impressed by your efforts, attitude, and the results you're getting. So if I had to vote, I'd vote in that position too. It's just critical that is being taken care of.
It is.
Because if there's not someone in that position, the ball's gonna get dropped. We're gonna miss reparations, we're gonna miss the maintenance, we're gonna miss all of it, so, I know they're figuring it out, but,
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of pieces that need to be brought up to speed. And we're gonna get there, it's just a matter of how we're gonna do it.
yeah. and-
Can the committee assist you in any way in particular?
At some point, maybe, I'm trying to, like, something as simple as we were gonna get a shipping container to put the turf in. Well, that's great, except the turf is 8 feet long, and the shipping container is 7'10" on the door, so we couldn't get it in there. So now I'm looking at buying like some kind of a metal garage that we can put the turf in for the winter, so we have a safe place to store it. Just small things like that just haven't been thought out, because we just,
Tractor trailer.
tractor trailer's too narrow in the door. See, when they put them in a tractor trailer, they were putting them in lengthways, and our forklift, little Bobcat can't do it lengthways. So we tried cleaning out the far end, past the bleachers, and we couldn't get enough in there, so right now they're all stored in the garage.
Yeah.
Which we can't have in the winter, because we gotta have the truck in there with salt, so.
Huh.
We're gonna come up with something, but it's just one of those learning curves, like, we had it ordered, and then we measured it, and we're like, wait, that's not gonna work. So we'll get there, it's just.
I think, and to follow up on Sue's, we're part of this community, we care about this facility. You're good at delegating and getting people to do things, so if you need some help, we're more than happy to.
And I appreciate that, and I probably will ask the committee for support on things when we get to a place where I need it, I just still trying to piece it all together.
I can promise you, he's a quick learner. As his hockey coach 40 years ago, he was a quick learner. Shouldn't be a problem.
And I love this place because I grew up here, so.
Excellent, great, wonderful. Okay, anything else before we move on? Okay, Jim, floor is yours.
You grew up here?
Yeah. You knew that, Jim.
Moving on to more professional items. Just a quick explanation of what happened in the world publication in the last couple of 3 weeks. Once a year, I'm going to use the pronoun I, but we or I put an advertisement, if you may, in the publications here, the World and the Times Driver, to thank all the sponsors. And K, right. We worked diligently because there were some changes that had to be made, one of which is there's no longer a civic center committee, and I was quite emphatic about that before they printed it. Then lo and behold, three Thursdays ago, when it comes out, it says at the very top, civic center committee. Well, I had a pleasant conversation, or a professional conversation on the telephone with Kay, and as a result of that conversation, which I requested and got, we got a letter of apology from the folks at the World that signed off by Kay Roberts, Sanamore, and Gary Haas, who was the editor-in-chief at the World. They also complimented us, and they put in they doubled the size of the ad the next week, and there it is. And both of these ads were free. We didn't pay a penny for them. So I gotta tell you, I have the greatest amount. Kay here is phenomenal. You all know Kay, I'm sure. Just a great lady to work with and very, very professional. She was as disappointed, if not upset, as I was on this. So these have all been done, and it will never say Civic Center again. It will always say building and facilities and so on and so forth. Now, you'll notice if you look at that ad, or just walking around the community, both buildings are full again. We lost a couple of 3 sponsors over the winter, and they've all been filled because there were some folks on the waiting list, waiting for that. And the most recent sponsor that now is in the BOR is Southpaw Imaging. They're the folks over on Bianchi Way, over there behind the clouds. I'm not sure what they do for a business, but the guy's very supportive. And working with Rick, one of the things which we'll do that will generate an additional $4,000 a year. If you were to look into the BOR, you'll notice that, I'm hoping you've seen them in the past, there are 6 banners that hang on the far wall, left wall, when you walk in. Well, we're going to extend the wire at both ends, literally from one end of the BOR to the other end, which will allow for 4 more banners to go up. And that's an additional $1,000, so that's working quite well. A small item, because it's so far away, but a week from what's today? Wednesday, a week from tomorrow, in this room, we're I'm meeting with the committee that helped me put this together, an event that we did last December that was very successful attendance-wise. 2 folks right here to my left were very instrumental in having that happen. We've got the athletic directors and some of the coaches from 4 high schools to come back and review the winter solstice we did last year. One of the items we're looking at and we'll discuss amongst the committee and maybe bring it up with the ADs is to increase the number of schools participating from 4 to 6. There's been a couple of curveballs thrown at me on that, so I'm not sure if that will happen or not. But we had close to 800, 900 people come down with that.
I would say so, yeah.
And one of the problems is when we try to schedule it in December, every Saturday in December of this year is already booked. I'm looking at and talked with Rick briefly, very briefly, just a couple of days ago about the possibility of having one of those events, which doesn't have a great attendance, maybe postponed or slid off to another Saturday sometime. Maybe we'll go back to, I don't know, these are all maybes, but we'll give you updates as early as next month. So, again, we continue to be well supported by the sponsors, by the businesses all over northern Vermont, because we got sponsors in from Chittenden County.
And they see you sure.
Oh, I don't know. This is one of the topics we're going to discuss I'm a t-shirt guy. And we had these made up, last year. You see these? This is the, what it's right here, Barre Granite Association Winter Solstice High School Basketball Classic. And on the back, it lists the 4 schools that came in. Most importantly, on the sleeves, there's more writing on here than there is in Times Square for crying out loud. But there'd be Union Bank and Memorial Valley, Chevrolet, and Ford. I point these out because for all intents and purposes, we had, I don't know, almost 200 t-shirts printed up, and we gave them to every coach, manager, and player. I mean, you can come walking billboards for these 2 businesses, and each one of these businesses paid us $1,000 last year. So these t-shirts are basically free for us. I don't know if, I'm hoping kids, I haven't seen one, but I still live for the day and you're walking down Main Street in Barre or Hardwick or Morrisville and seeing a kid or a coach with one of these t-shirts on, but anyway. Still continues to be a fun job, and I'm gonna tell you, Mr. Taft's doing a very good job, excellent job, and it's enjoyable, and there's nothing against Jeff, and Jeff's a very dear friend, as was Steph, or is Steph, but sometimes change is good. And I gotta tell you, I appreciate what you're commenting, but one thing we do have to keep you, I'm asking, and everyone here, I'm only up here 2 days a week. Actually, not even 2 days. I'm only here Tuesdays and Thursday mornings.
I just want to make sure your day is filled.
It is. It is. And I'm not sure how much longer those days will be up here on the hill.
Oh, come on.
I've been here. I worked here more than any job I've ever had in my life. 7 years, I've been, 7 years. I went,
About time you found your home.
what's that?
About time you found your home.
I did, yeah.
It's like a fountain of youth.
What's that?
It's like a fountain of youth.
Yeah, well, I call it a fountain, all right. It's been a good time, it's good, it's a different vibe going on now.
So you don't have to answer my question right now, but what I'm always curious about, you've got genuine support, long-term support from a variety of different local businesses and organizations. Please send me an email when you have a chance. I'd like to know what are the 3 top things that entice these businesses and organizations to re-up? What are the concepts that you're describing, you know, the Hill as?
Me and me.
If you
Our
want to say that in
persuasion.
your bulletin, that's fine, me, that's fine, I want you to think about it, because it's really helpful for us to know, you know, basically the marketing terms that seem to really make people excited.
And this is interesting because, which I did mention, you know, at politics, I don't hardly do anything anymore. I mean, no, seriously, we put this in the paper.
You're not helping yourself out.
Okay, maybe, that's why I said, send me an email.
You're getting paid to do nothing, just like the rest of these
This
guys.
is confusing.
You're
Give
gonna
me-
take less after the scheme. Exactly.
I'm
You're gonna start doing other stuff.
Wait a minute, may I finish? On this ad, what was in the paper, this is how it works, to Sue's point, very seriously. It's, when things are going, you know, when things are going well, everyone wants to be part of the group, don't they?
Yes.
And what's happened here, when this ad went in the paper, I got 2 phone calls from 2 different companies here. There's one called Peak Heating Mechanical.
Yeah.
He called me, he said, I just saw the ad, that's what his exact quote, I just saw, so I mean, these ads, as, I don't know, corny or ridiculous as they might be, they pay benefit. And he calls, yeah, I'd like to get a dash from the BOI. And it's, the best thing I can say is, well, stand in line, because there are, and that sort of, you know, that hurry up, yeah, I want it, and if they can't get it, they want it even more, if that makes
Well,
sense.
that's interesting because, yeah, it's that when we first started this, the film, now, like I've been over the years, like in basketball especially, and people who have kids, who have business, who have kids, in the program look up and say, how do I get up there? How do I get my business up there? And that's like, because it's full, you know, it wasn't full, people are like,
That's right.
and it's, now it's been full, I've been there, people just look around, like, I want in. You know, it's just, it's an interesting mindset.
That's exactly what's, that's what's happening now. And,
And you're not working that hard, so you got plenty of time to do other things.
I got a paintbrush for you.
Wait a minute, I think Marie's downstairs, she's still waiting for you in the parking lot. Whoops. But, it's, guys, well, not guys, folks, this is a fun job, truly. My wife and I talk about it pretty regularly, and, you know, I look forward to coming up to the auditorium every Tuesday and Thursday, and obviously every month on Wednesday.
She's happy you're getting out of the house a couple of days a week. I
My wife's happy that I get out of it.
Maybe a couple more days, they should be happier.
I don't know, what else do you think what could I do to make this a more profitable and, a financially better situation, seriously?
No, I mean, just keep doing your job, but it appears that other opportunities, you know, that have happened that we haven't been able to cover, that you might be able to help with. That's what I'm thinking.
I think, you know, the advertising is fantastic, you know, great job, it's totally full. Then it comes like the shows like this, you know, is there anything, reach out, are we missing opportunities to get a big group of people here that aren't happy somewhere else? So,
Only because you asked. I would love for you to, look at the lists of, exhibitors at some of our competition. And then tick down those lists and try to entice them to come here to Central Vermont.
I didn't understand.
Okay, so if there are sites that serve as, if there are sites for big events, expos or events that are currently being done up in Essex Junction or somewhere else, or Rutland, I would love for you to take a look at the annual lists of those types of events and just start ticking down the list and making some phone calls, because I think you have the charm and the capacity to bring in new people.
Yes, you're 100% right. She is, she's 100% right. But I lived in Chittenden County for most of my early years.
I'm sorry.
Chittenden County and Washington County are two separate scenarios. And the boat show and the farm and milk a cow show, whatever they used to have over at the BOR. Both of those go over to Champlain. I mean, I'm not trying to be negative or defeated. We can't compete against Champlain Valley. Can't do it, the fairgrounds. And I look, and still, you're absolutely right. I look at those programs on CAX and I say to Lenny, darn it, I wish we could get those guys to come on. So there is, yeah, that's an untapped, potentially an untapped resource, and I will give more focus to that to see if we can get a couple, three
We have a great
big
location
times to come in.
to bring in people from the south, great central location. We have a better pricing system.
Well, to your point, and Rick, this is something I think that both of us should look at. Darn Tough over in Northfield. They came in here twice last year for their business meeting and for their holiday meeting. And I remember Jeff talking briefly that he was trying to get them to come back here for their sock giveaway in November. Because they used to do it in Northfield, and I don't
They
know
still,
whether
they do it at the mill in Northfield, but I know Jeff definitely talked to them and they were considering talking to us about coming over here.
To Sue's point, very good, very valid point. I'm in the next week, I'm gonna try to not try. I will attempt to and take a ride over to Northfield and sit down with the powers to be to see where they are and how we can entice them to do that. Keep the first two in place and see if we can get the giveaway of socks, which is huge.
Plus, they're very generous. I had an art project involving their socks, and they have piles of socks that are going to their sock waste pile that I wear on a regular basis. So you're gonna get some new socks out of this business.
Right now, the business downtown, there's a US.
Oh, yeah.
Good.
So just real quick, to follow up, I did get the blessing on the Saturday, the 14th. We're gonna do the winter solstice. So took care of that for you. One of the problems that I'm running into with the rental of this place, and VLCT used to rent this, and they used to do this show in addition to their annual meeting up here. There's no hotels. And everything is booked up with the homeless community right now, and so anybody that's traveling in from out of state has no place to stay. And that's what is hurting us with some of these shows, is they have a lot of vendors and stuff that come in from out of state, and they're like, we'd love to have it there again, because it was, I mean, their office in Montpelier, it's close, it's easy, but they can go to Killington in the off season in October, and they can rent the entire place with rooms and everything, so.
Here's one that every time I drive down North Main Street, every single time, and the tall high rise which is down there,
North Ferry Manor.
and up on top are our cell towers. And I'm thinking, how the hell did we let that go? Because that was free money. And if they want to give, they got a deal with it paying $800 less a month, why the hell didn't we say, we'll let you pay it $900? That, no reason that had to get away from us.
We paid a guy forever to do, company forever, who was supposed to be managing it, so.
Yeah.
There was a contract out well before I was on it.
Yeah, I remember way back when I was in the manager.
He used to come to our meetings, I don't know what happened. We're a better option for it, I think we're higher, better reception, so the conversation should probably be had with them, see if they entertain coming back at a greater.
Or one of the other vendors that's out there, I mean, Because now there's Sprint, there's more mobile, Infinity.
Yeah, that's where the word is gone. Okay, Jim, do you have anything else? I don't know, questions for Jim? Okay, I don't think you're ready, but typically we go to a staff report where Jeff would talk to you, anything to add at this point?
No, I mean,
We've talked about it a bit.
trying to change the world right now, and
Okay,
It looks like you're doing,
we'll get there. It's, some people are coming along, some people aren't.
we'll figure it out. So,
Yes,
Always
we will.
look forward to one. So the only thing I have to add is, you know, the committee right now, we are 8 strong. Josh, who has come here, a few times at these meetings, indicated that he had the paperwork filled out, he was gone and sent it in.
That's what he said.
There was 4 of us that, needed to re-up. Today is the deadline for doing that. Polly, you already re-upped, so thank you. And so for the 2 other people, today that they will have to get in for that if you're interested. Other than that,
Just in that vein, just so you know, there's gonna be new, potentially new city council and everything, there's some people running, and it's mentioned in they're mentioned in city council meetings, also people campaigning to mention that they don't want town residents on these committees, so there's a potential that we,
that was a topic, what I'm going to think, that is off the tables at this point.
though I haven't heard in the campaign, including one people from Barre, and some people running for city council talked about.
The problem is, and this is the discussion that we've had with the people that have said this in the past, you take off town residents, you're not gonna have committees anymore.
That's
Because
the counter.
there's not enough people in Barre to have a quorum on any committee. If you look at the committees, there's just not enough people.
And I'll stand by this statement, I'm a very town resident, but I have business in Berry City, and I get people who have business,
Right.
they are vested in the city.
Right.
This, I just have to say that we are a regional resource.
Right.
We need regional representation on our committee.
Absolutely.
And I can't vouch for that.
No,
And it makes no sense whatsoever.
no, it makes absolutely no sense. I mean, if you look at the police advisory committee, you've got Bob Nelson, he's a town resident. They have done huge strides, creating all types of law enforcement policies, running them through their committee, having the committee review them, make edits, and then they get approved and they're put into place that are gonna make policing in Barre so much better. If you didn't have people like you guys and Bob helping out with that stuff, it never would happen.
No, it's important, it's like, you hear it out there, that's what we know, having campaign
Yeah, it's-
points, so it's just like, you know, we all, obviously, this is community, this serves the community as a whole.
Yeah.
There's no one here fighting for Barre Town's interest. I was like, and the counter I did see 2 weeks ago was, Barre Town doesn't allow city residents, I'm like, who cares?
Right.
And it was like, it's like, you know, like, take my toys going home, like, this
Because
is,
they don't have the committees that we do.
yeah, they don't have the facilities that we have.
Right.
You know, it's.
It's, yeah, it's disheartening because I mean, we need people that are willing to step up and help out. And if you push people away, and then you push people away and say, we don't want anybody from Barre Town on our committees, but then you turn around and say, reach out to Barre Town Rec and see if they want to work with us on things. I'm like, why would they? I mean, if we're gonna push them away, they're not gonna help us. It just doesn't make any sense.
We do have a new city council coming, and it's a political year, so you're gonna hear all sorts of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, anyone have anything else? Someone make a motion to adjourn? Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Yeah.
Stuff over there.
Call on the boards. Oh, yeah. Doing it all white.
And I'll also check
On the outside?
email.
No, we haven't touched that. Okay.
So you guys are testing out.
I will reach out. So in the locker room, we have
this.
And then it's like,
What's up with the concrete?
Yeah, it's all falling off the top, I hate falling off.
Sometimes
Oh, we gotta paint.
I do a lot of emails.
Concrete is falling. Yeah, paint concrete is falling off. He goes, yeah, he does that every year. Walls outside, he fix the outside walls. So when it makes sense to make the outside walls fixed, then fix the inside walls. We're doing, so now I'm trying to figure out how to fix it. I mean, I know it's because of this ramp in the back stairs. Kind of fix it with hydraulics and then stuff. Yeah, but there's no water left in the inside of the ramp. So it goes up in the building. It's all wide open. It's not about an inch of water. You wonder why the water's not in or? What's that? I gotta tell you, when I went in, press the guys here. So he said, needs to be replaced. Yes. We budgeted that was rebuilt. She's like, I didn't know anything about it. She's like, how much? I said, oh, right around 50. I can find it. And it's like, why was that? Why was this manifold? And that's really in a plan on their well, the one that's in there, the problem is has, it's like a 2-inch line going off from it. And every one goes on it. Yeah. So we're looking at that. The other thing that I'm looking at over there is dehumidification. Why one was never put in and budgeted. So even if I can't get it right off, if I can start budgeting, it's just in the end. Yeah.
Right. Now they use it to store pieces of wood and, they're all down here. Air's supposed to come up, and then go on lengthways.
I don't, are there vents at the end?
And they turn those off once, because they don't want to say when they. That's when everything started rotting.
Okay, so a simple fix to that, just put in solar panels. I mean, yeah, there's a lot that needs to be addressed.
And the system that's there, and it was engineered to take care of the building, which is the way that it was.
And I think it would work there. The problem is the size, in between the wood that's up there, and it's running down into lots of rooms, and sheet rocks falling off. Yeah.
I went, yeah, I flew mine out.
On top of the screen, they like usually have
Insulation.
now, where they got like I never, lost the whole surface out of the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
Goes to the whole side, and it's open one end, it just will push the front end and pull out the back. And when they were doing the fire filter, they would block it, they would put plastic in it, they would block it off, and then they wouldn't take them down. So the fire filter, because they were heating it in there.
See, this is the pieces that like every day I swear I'll there is something to do. Oh, okay. No, not even close, but the more I can learn, how it is I can learn it. And I'll be honest, those guys have been helpful. They're like, oh, hey, don't forget we need to do this or, okay, great, didn't even know. No, it's not, it started that's what we're gonna be doing. We're gonna be having a team meeting once a week. We're gonna be going on a list of everything and saying, okay, it's supposed to rain on Wednesday. What are we gonna hit? Also, I want to target 2 people I want on this, I want Joel, I want him on this. I want somebody in VOR working on this and. Because if,
I just love past, I love.
they're very good, if you give them specific instructions, they'll do this, they will go do that, and they'll do a good job, and then they'll come back, but they don't think about anything around it when they go out. And so, the first example, we got 18 here on Monday morning. When Nicholas said, we're gonna have Rick step in as interim, until we figure out what's gonna happen.
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve is they don't wanna see trash cans full.
You just like.
Monday afternoon, they're going up to the pool to check something or get a mower out or something. And they told me it's a hidden trash can's full at City Hall parking lot. And you're stopping to pick it up, right? Well, no, you know, you're going right across. Stop it into your trash space, and you got trash bags made in a truck. Wow, and, but they're so used to, that's not my job. Yeah, like, it is your job. If it makes the city look bad, it's your job to figure out. It's,
Yeah.
absolutely, let's come down here next, because I'd like to do it.
Carol? Bernie had a question.
Yeah.
We approved it, we have no say in it. It's the city that has.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Manager told us they have a, reach out to them because we have a pay
Grandfather, right?
and pay
Yeah,
so they're not paying. They're not paying.
Well, please come over and see me sometime.
It is.
So it's just,
Well deserved.
like that, just kind of like that.
It should have happened a long time ago. And that's my point to them, is like, well.
You just give me a holler.
So, 4 years or so, or your papers. Or your papers, and you should have got something a year. He hasn't. So,
Yeah.
it's.
Okay,
it's-
very good.
work.
All right.
We approved it,
Thanks for calling.
but they're not doing it.
You play tomorrow? I did, Paul, thanks, I'll figure I can get back to Boston.
Oh, and it's.
Down there, so I'm
I'm
sure
sure
it's
it's
going
like
down.
that, it's a little bit big time too. It has about anything.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, great. So good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't talked to Rick about it, but I'll send something to Rick and Barney, but still they have they have the city hiring and pay freeze.
Yeah.
And that's what they're falling behind, that we can't do it. It's freeze. But I'll make the argument again that they just said, well, there's 4 or 5 years where he should have gone and he didn't. So.
I can just tell you that it's eating at it.
We're in good shape, we did financial last month. So we gotta get raised. It's kind of like. It's good. It's a huge one, so it is a problem, it's a big problem.
How we can get around the horn.
No.
Not keep.
Right.
Pushing them and trying to keep them all the best we can, and he lives for this basketball thing, and he lives for the stuff in the DOR.
No, it's great, you know, it was really, just kind of up to Jeff and Nicholas. So Rick is new to this position, I'll send one to Rick and Nicholas, and see if we can address it again, maybe he's got more pull or something, because it really, it's not right, and you know, my argument is, again, that there's 5 years that he didn't get anything that he should have, so you're not, you know. It's not paying them anymore, is that right? They don't want to work in, it's a civic center fund.
It's not like it's coming out of Texas, that's why, I mean.
So we'll try it again, but,
I know you guys have all talked about it, the wow factor right now, that's going on over there on the other side of the table. You know, and we're all, I know we're all thinking the same thing. I just.
it is, I'm gonna go shut it off, but I agree with you, I'm exactly what you're saying, there's things that are, yeah, it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's capture the energy level again.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me about the streets.
What?
Mr. Cat, they were running for Easter, so how